Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's analysis, we're going to take a careful and realistic look at a topic that continues to generate discussion among Iraqi Dinar observers and long-term holders. The focus is not on rumors or speculation, but on a practical question that many people ask when thinking about currency adjustments. If the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar changes, should someone exchange all of their holdings at once or take a more gradual approach? This discussion often begins with the idea that the exchange rate at the very beginning of any adjustment could be significantly different from where it might eventually settle over time. That is an important concept to understand, because in real-world financial systems, currencies rarely move in a straight line. They are influenced by policy decisions, market confidence, liquidity conditions, and broader economic stability. When people suggest exchanging only a portion of holdings, such as 250,000 dinars out of $1 million, they are essentially talking about risk management. This is a strategy that exists in many areas of finance, not just currency markets. The idea is simple. Instead of making one large decision at a single point in time, an individual spreads their exposure across multiple points, allowing them to observe how conditions evolve. On the other hand, those who advocate for exchanging the entire amount immediately are usually focused on certainty. Their perspective is that once a favorable rate becomes available, locking in that rate removes the risk of future decline or unexpected policy changes. This reflects a different kind of financial thinking, one that prioritizes guaranteed outcomes over potential upside. To understand both sides of this discussion, it's important to step back and consider how currency adjustments typically work in real economies. When a central bank makes a change to its exchange rate policy, it is rarely an isolated action. It is usually part of a broader economic strategy that may include controlling inflation, stabilizing foreign reserves, improving trade balance, or aligning with international financial systems. In the case of Iraq, the role of the central bank is particularly important. The country's economy is heavily influenced by oil revenues, government spending, and ongoing structural reforms. Any adjustment to the currency would likely reflect a combination of these factors rather than a sudden, standalone event. In the short term, if an exchange rate adjustment were to occur, the market reaction could vary. There may be an initial phase where the rate is set administratively, followed by a period of adjustment as market forces begin to interact with that rate. During this phase, liquidity, demand for the currency, and external economic signals all play a role in determining whether the rate stabilizes, strengthens, or weakens. This is where the idea of partial exchange comes into focus. By exchanging a portion early, an individual could potentially benefit from an initial rate while still maintaining exposure to any future changes. However, it's important to understand that this approach does not guarantee a better outcome. Markets can move in unexpected directions, and what seems like a cautious strategy can still carry risk. Conversely, exchanging everything at once removes uncertainty, but also eliminates the possibility of benefiting from future improvements. If the rate were to move in a more favorable direction later, those who exchanged early would not participate in that upside. This is a trade-off that exists in many financial decisions, whether in currencies, stocks, or commodities. Another factor to consider is access and timing. In real-world scenarios, the ability to exchange currency is not always immediate or uniform. Banking systems, regulations, and international financial relationships can all influence how and when exchanges take place. This means that theoretical strategies may not always align perfectly with practical realities. Additionally, transaction costs, spreads, and fees can impact the overall outcome. Even if an exchange rate appears favorable, the net result after fees may be different. This is why financial professionals often emphasize the importance of looking at the full picture rather than focusing solely on headline rates. From a broader economic perspective, the long-term value of any currency is tied to the strength of the underlying economy. For Iraq, this includes factors such as political stability, diversification beyond oil, infrastructure development, and integration into global markets. These are not changes that happen overnight, and they influence how a currency performs over time. If Iraq continues to make progress in these areas, it could support a more stable and potentially stronger currency environment in the long run. However, this is a gradual process, and it involves both opportunities and challenges. External factors, such as global oil prices and regional dynamics, also play a significant role. In the short term, any adjustment to the exchange rate would likely be part of a controlled process rather than a sudden, unpredictable shift. Central banks typically aim to avoid excessive volatility, as it can create uncertainty for businesses, investors, and the general public. Stability is often a key objective in monetary policy. This brings us back to the core question: should someone exchange all at once or in parts? The answer is not universal, because it depends on individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and financial goals. What works for one person may not be appropriate for another. For example, someone who prioritizes certainty and simplicity may prefer to exchange everything at once, accepting the rate available at that time. Another individual who is comfortable with uncertainty and wants to keep options open might choose a phased approach. Both perspectives are valid within their own contexts. It's also important to recognize that discussions around future exchange rates often involve a degree of speculation. While analysis can provide insights, no one can predict exact outcomes with certainty. This is why responsible financial decision-making focuses on preparation and understanding rather than assumptions. For Iraqi Dinar followers, the key takeaway is to stay informed and grounded. Pay attention to official announcements, economic indicators, and credible sources of information. Avoid making decisions based solely on rumors or unverified claims, as these can lead to unrealistic expectations. Another important consideration is diversification. In broader financial planning, relying heavily on a single asset or outcome can increase risk. While the Iraqi dinar may be one area of interest, it should ideally be viewed within the context of a balanced financial approach. Looking ahead, the long-term trajectory of Iraq's economy will continue to shape the conversation around its currency. Efforts to strengthen institutions, attract investment, and improve economic resilience are all positive signals, but they require time and consistent policy implementation. In the meantime, discussions about exchange strategies should be approached with a clear understanding of both the potential benefits and the limitations. There is no guaranteed formula, and outcomes can vary based on timing, market conditions, and external factors. From a financial analysis standpoint, the idea of splitting exchanges can be seen as a way to manage uncertainty, while exchanging all at once can be seen as a way to eliminate it. Each approach reflects a different balance between risk and reward. As always, it's important to align any decision with your own financial situation and objectives. Consider factors such as liquidity needs, time horizon, and overall risk tolerance. These elements play a crucial role in determining what strategy, if any, makes sense. In conclusion, the discussion around exchanging Iraqi dinar, whether partially or fully, is less about finding a single correct answer and more about understanding the dynamics involved. Currency movements are influenced by complex economic factors, and strategies should be based on careful consideration rather than assumptions. For Iraqi dinar followers, staying informed, maintaining realistic expectations, and approaching decisions with a balanced perspective are the most important steps. The future of Iraq's economy holds potential, but it also requires patience and a clear understanding of how financial systems operate. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay connected for more responsible and factual updates on the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy. And as always, this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.